Pretty. I mean, good. Your shooting is good. Do it again. Sight the lowest part of the V, cheek resting against the stomach.
I had a father, thank you.
I didn't. Woo, God. Dang it, I'm good. 6 pounds of pressure, that's all that's required to kill a man. And they say the nightmares never go away.
Those nightmares? They keep you up often, Mr. Faraday?
You might want to wear some pants if you're fixing to fight.
On the set.
This is Michael Faulkner, and it is showtime at the September 20th, 2016 edition of the Weekly Podioplex. Brought to you on the Chronic Riff Network. This week's birthdays include James Marsden, Cyclops from the first round of the X-Men films, Danielle Pennebaker, Caitlin Snow and Killer Frost on The Flash, Adam West of Batman 66, John Barenthal of both The Walking Dead and Daredevil, George R.R. Martin, the man who kills pretty much everyone you love in Westeros, Bill Murray and Dave Coulier, both of whom have played Peter Venkman in the Ghostbusters, Tom Felton, the man who is Draco Malfoy, Billy Piper of Doctor Who fame, Anthony Mackie, Marvel's Falcon, and 80 years ago, Jim Henson, who will always have my undying gratitude. Starting at the box office report, the newbies fell a little short. At number 10 is Pete's Dragon, down 3 from 7th. At number 9 is Kubo and the Two Strings, down 3 from 6th. At 8th is The Wildlife, down 3 from 5th. In 7th is Suicide Squad, down 3 from 4th. And breaking the pattern at the top of the bottom 5 is When the Bow Breaks, down 4 from 2nd. The top 5 this week begin with Don't Breathe, down 2 from 3rd with $5.6 million, added to a total of $75.4 million. In 4th place is new release Snowden, premiering to $8 million. Expectations were low, and this title met them. Critics gave Snowden a 60% approval rating, but opening day audiences were stunned with an A cinema score. In 3rd place is new release Bridget Jones' Baby, premiering with $8.6 million. That's a bit of a disappointment for Universal and the Bridget Jones franchise, pulling down the worst opening of the trilogy. It's an odd combination, since critics liked this one more than the previous installment, offering up a 76% rating versus a 27% for Bridget Jones' Edge of Reason. Audiences were only okay, as they offered up a B+ cinema score from mostly female audiences over the age of 35. In better news for this title, it did perform well overseas, and that might mitigate the lackluster domestic performance. In 2nd is new release Blair Witch, debuting with $9.6 million. That's well below expectations, and even with a meager $5 million budget, the studio really wanted more, based on the excitement this one had generated at Comic-Con when it was screened as The Woods. In terms of the 17-year-old franchise, this is the lowest of the premieres, and as far as the scores are concerned, it was not a hit. Critics gave it a 36% approval rating, and the mostly male audiences over the age of 25 gave it a D+. Remaining in 1st this week is Sully, adding $21.7 million to a total of $70.2 million. That's an amazing 37% drop from premiere. Overall, this weekend was the 2nd worst of 2016, only missing the mark by about $136,000. Let's close out the box office report with a look at what's winning in years gone by. 5 years ago in 2011, The Lion King 3D took number 1 with $21.9 million. The 3D version of The Lion King became the first re-release to reach number 1 for 2 weeks since The Empire Strikes Back Special Edition back in February of '97. 10 years ago in 2006, Jackass number 2 won the weekend with $29 million. 20 years ago in 1996, The First Wives Club was the winner with $18.9 million, breaking Seven's record for the highest weekend debut in September. 30 years ago in 1986, Top Gun took the title with $3.3 million, reclaiming #1 in its 19th weekend of release. And 40 years ago, in 1976, The Front took the box office crown with $3.9 million. The box office premieres for September 23rd are magnificent, starting with this week's headliner, The Magnificent Seven, a Western starring Denzel Washington, Chris Pratt, and Ethan Hawke.
These men need inspiration. Inspire them. You are Goodnight Robichaux, after all. Ain't you?
I can hit sand. We need the lead.
23 confirmed kills at Antietam. This is one of Connolly's Confederate sharpshooters, dubbed the Angel of Death. Do what he does. He's a legend.
That's some fancy shooting there.
What they call them, good night.
Told you.
7 gunmen in the Old West gradually come together to help a poor village against savage thieves. The Magnificent Seven is rated PG-13. The other wide release is Storks, an animated comedy starring Andy Samberg, Katie Crown, and Kelsey Grammer.
Hey!
Hey, what are you doing out of the room? I told you not to leave the room.
Nah, it's cool. I'm covering for myself.
What? Okay, we need to get out of here. Come on, we have to go now.
Junior?
You asked me to do a thing, and I will not fail you.
Always deliver!
This is the baby factory!
This is the baby factory! Ah! No! Why did you do that?
Touchdown, Tula!
Stop celebrating! I think it was supposed to go over there.
You're right, that was wrong.
Storks have moved on from delivering babies to delivering packages. But when an order for a baby appears, the best delivery stork must scramble to fix the error by delivering the baby. Storks is rated PG. There are also 5 titles on this week's limited slate, and you can find those in the show notes. Next up is a look at the home entertainment slate for the week of September 20th, and it's a bit of a light list. I'll begin with new releases on DVD and Blu-ray, and that list begins with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Out of the Shadows, an action-adventure film starring Megan Fox, Will Arnett, and Laura Linney. After facing Shredder, who has joined forces with mad scientist Baxter Stockman and henchmen Bebop and Rocksteady to take over the world, the Turtles must confront an even greater nemesis, the notorious Krang. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Out of the Shadows is rated PG-13. The second title is Neighbors 2: Sorority Rising, a comedy starring Seth Rogen, Zac Efron, and Rose Byrne. Now that Mac and Kelly Radner have a second baby on the way, they are ready to make the final move into adulthood, the suburbs. But just as they thought they'd reclaim the neighborhood and were safe to sell, they learn that the new occupants next door are a sorority, even more out of control than Teddy and his brothers ever dreamed of being. Neighbors 2: Sorority Rising is rated R. And the third on the list is Free State of Jones, an action film starring Matthew McConaughey, Gugu Mbatha-Raw, and Kerry Russell. This is the story of defiant Southern farmer Newt Knight and his extraordinary armed rebellion against the Confederacy. Opposed to both slavery and secession, Knight launched an uprising of poor white farmers that led Jones County, Mississippi, to itself secede from the Confederacy, creating a free state of Jones. Free State of Jones is rated R. Dropping by new releases on digital video, that list starts with The Purge: Election Year, a horror thriller starring Frank Grillo, Elizabeth Mitchell, and Mykelti Williamson. Years after sparing the man who killed his son, former police sergeant Barnes has become head of security for Senator Charlie Roan, a presidential candidate targeted for death on Purge night due to her vow to eliminate the Purge. The Purge: Election Year is rated R. The other title is The Legend of Tarzan, an adventure film starring Alexander Skarsgård, Margot Robbie, and Samuel L. Jackson. Years after the man once known as Tarzan left behind the jungles of Africa for a gentrified life in London as Lord Greystoke with his beloved wife Jane Porter, he has been invited back to the Congo to serve as trade emissary of Parliament, unaware that he's a pawn in a deadly convergence of greed and revenge, masterminded by the corrupt Belgian captain Leon Rom. The Legend of Tarzan is rated PG-13. Moving on to TV on DVD and Blu-ray, we start things there with Twin Peaks, the original series, Fire Walk With Me, and The Missing Pieces. Spanning 1990 to 1992 and starring Cheryl Lee, Ray Wise, and Madchen Amick. Twin Peaks, the original series, Fire Walk With Me, and The Missing Pieces is a comprehensive collection with every episode from the complete television series, both the US and the international versions of the series pilot, David Lynch's follow-up feature, Twin Peaks Fire Walk With Me, and nearly 90 minutes of deleted and alternate scenes from the film. It's the tale of an idiosyncratic FBI agent who investigates the murder of a young woman in the even more idiosyncratic town. The set also features high-definition log lady introductions for each episode, picture upgrades to many shots in the TV series, and hours of material, which dives into the fascinating story behind the celebrated pop culture classic in preparation for the upcoming revival series. The second TV title is The Originals, Season 3 from 2015, starring Phoebe Tonkin, Joseph Morgan, and Claire Holt. The original vampire-werewolf hybrid Klaus Mikaelson and his brother Elijah have spent 1,000 years fighting to protect their dysfunctional family. But now that Klaus and the hybrid Haley share an infant daughter named Hope, the stakes are higher than ever. As Season 3 begins, Klaus and Elijah are estranged from each other, even as both brothers adjust to life with their long-lost sister, Freya. Haley suffers mightily at the hands of Klaus's petty vengeance, while Marcel and Davina rule the city under a new status quo. Meanwhile, Cammie and Vincent find themselves caught up in a surprising mystery involving the newest resident of New Orleans, the first vampire ever sired by the Mikaelsons 1,000 years ago. Number 3 on the list is Modern Family, Season 7 from 2015, starring Ed O'Neill, Sofia Vergara, and Julie Bowen. Enjoy a new chapter of love and laughter with Season 7 of Modern Family, winner of 5 Emmy Awards for Outstanding Comedy Series. Quackery rules the roost when Phil adopts a trio of orphan ducklings, and the rebellious Dunphy kids spread their wings. Meanwhile, Cam and Mitchell face financial hurdles and wild frat boys. Jay and Gloria farm out Joe's preschool education, and Manny leaps into the dating game. But will the big question finally be answered? Are Haley and Andy destined to be together? The laughs, lunacy, and love have never been more alive. And TV on DVD wraps up with Two Broke Girls, Season 5 from 2015, starring Kat Dennings, Beth Bears, and Garrett Morris. Kat Dennings and Beth Bears star as Max Black and Carolyn Channing, best friends and opposites who met waitressing at the same Brooklyn diner. In Season 5, the girls continue to wait tables at the diner while trying to build their business, Max's Homemade Cupcakes, operating out of an after-hours cupcake window at the diner. While trying to work their way out of broke and realizing they're more alike than they thought, they're surrounded by their offbeat, colorful work family at the diner.
Second chance. The second chance will never be found. You can't count on the second try. The second try will never come round.
I'll wrap up the home entertainment slate with Blu-rays from the past, and this week I have one title for you. Remember how I mentioned at the top of the show that Saturday would have been Jim Henson's 80th birthday? Well, you can celebrate his life and legacy with another anniversary release in Labyrinth, a fantasy adventure musical from 1986 celebrating its 30th anniversary, starring David Bowie, Jennifer Connelly, and Toby Froud. 15-year-old Sarah is so resentful of her baby brother Toby that she hopes he will just disappear. Her dream becomes reality when goblins kidnap the boy, but Sarah unexpectedly finds herself horrified by the loss. So she sets forth to retrieve him and finds herself on the adventure of a lifetime. To accomplish her task, she will somehow have to reach the center of the fantastical labyrinth where the wicked Goblin King has imprisoned the lad. But the task is easier said than done, for the maze is filled with strange creatures and mind-bending puzzles that confuse the girl. Directed by Jim Henson and penned by Monty Python's Terry Jones, Labyrinth is a distinctive, beautifully designed, dark fantasy for all ages. Labyrinth is rated PG. After this brief break for about a shameless podcast cross-promotion, the Weekly Podioplex will continue.
So you were doing what yesterday?
I was playing Oblivion for 12 hours straight.
That is the most awesome thing I've ever heard in my life.
I'm still working on it. I'm the obsessive-compulsive type that likes to explore every cave, every nook and cranny of every mountain, every city,
That's why they
every
put it there.
back alley. Yes, I know.
You know what I like?
What?
Civilization and a bottle of wine. Whole day. That to me would be heaven. Because, as I've said before, I can't play Civilization every day, but I could play it for a whole day.
If you had a bottle of wine.
If I had a bottle of wine.
Otherwise, would
just
you play it?
Not like to get drunk, but just have a nice little,
It's like a good book.
Just,
like,
yes.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is for me. And always think that I might play aggressively, and then I never do.
Because the wine mellows you out.
Because the wine mellows me out. It's awesome. It's just a really great way to spend a day.
I'm Jen.
And I'm Angela.
And when you're not listening to this glorious podcast, we would love to have you listen to ours, the Anomaly Podcast.
That's ANOMALY podcast.com.
And welcome back to the Weekly Podioplex. After a bit of a hiatus for which I am profoundly sorry, but we're back, and I'm Denise with your Quick Flicks. Topping the news today, Vincent D'Onofrio knows when the Kingpin will return. Fans of the Daredevil villain will be overjoyed to hear the Kingpin may be coming back. The actor responsible for bringing the man to life recently spoke with LMR for an interview during promotions for his latest film, The Magnificent Seven. Vincent confirmed he was not contractually obligated to appear in any more Marvel projects, but he would gladly return if the content was good. He said, "Marvel, the company, and especially Jeff Loeb, who runs Marvel Television, he's a clever dude. All those people over there are pretty clever and they love talent. There's no giant commitment for me at Daredevil. Like, I didn't have to sign my life away at all," he said. When Jeff tells me there's something coming up, and if I'm available, I'll be there. And because it's written so well, I'm going to show up. I'm going to do everything I can because the writing is so good. As for when and if the Kingpin may show up again, Vincent admitted he couldn't say. That I can't answer, he said. I do know, but I can't answer. So take that how you will. Jeff and Charlie Cox and Netflix love Kingpin, and so Kingpin is good for Marvel's television stuff, and I think they agree. You don't say. Or does he? Time will tell. As for the fans, many believe the violent villain will reappear in either Netflix's The Defenders or Daredevil Season 3. In Star Wars news, Rogue One is now being scored by Michael Giacchino. Since its inception in 1977, Star Wars has been scored by the same man, the legend, the hero to auditory senses everywhere, John Williams. Williams composed the iconic Star Wars main title film, as well as all the other musics in the film, from A New Hope to The Force Awakens. In fact, the score for the latest film has earned him an Oscar nomination, the 50th in the composer's long and decorated career. However, the 84-year-old Williams has suffered health problems in recent years and will not be returning to score Rogue One, A Star Wars Story, though he will be coming back for Star Wars Episode 8. Filling the gap is Michael Giacchino. He replaces the originally announced veteran Wes Anderson collaborator Alexandre Desplat. This switch came from the film's reshoots, which Desplat was not available for. Giacchino himself is an accomplished composer in both film and television. He scored the entirety of the Lost television series, all 3 of the Abrams Star Trek films, and most of the recent Pixar films, including The Incredibles, Ratatouille, and Up, the last of which he won an Oscar for. He also scored this year's breakout hit, Zootopia. It'll be weird to have someone filling John Williams' shoes for a Star Wars movie, but with Giacchino, I think we're in good hands. Rogue One, A Star Wars Story, opens in U.S. theaters on December 16th, 2016. And now for some good news out of the DCU, Harley Quinn is officially getting her own spin-off movie. While none of the DCU movies so far have gained anything but subpar Rotten Tomatoes ratings, all have been extremely profitable. And while each movie didn't reach the heights the studio expected, all have produced standout characters who are custom-made for their own flicks. Aquaman, The Flash, who really already has a television show, so why they're going the film route, I don't know. Deadshot, Wonder Woman, and Harley Quinn all prove themselves characters worthy of future studio investment. Actress and producer Margot Robbie has signed a first-look producing deal, which includes a spin-off movie featuring her bat-wielding clown, Harley Quinn. The trade describes her deal. The actress already has 2 projects set at Warner's, a Suicide Squad spin-off for her character Harley Quinn, as well as other DC heroines, that she will executive produce, and an adaptation of Dean N. Jensen's Queen of the Air, to which she is attached to star. There have been a lot of contradicting rumors about the Harley Quinn spin-off and how it will play into the DCEU landscape. Initial speculation focused on the love affair between Harley and the Joker. And right here, I'm gonna stop. Just for a minute. For those listening who have the idea that Harley and Joker have some kind of love affair going on and use the hashtag relationship goals in some misguided attempt to hold up Harley and Joker's relationship as an achievable goal, you are wrong. So wrong, it hurts my heart. Joker does not love Harley Quinn. Joker uses Harley Quinn because she is a tool to him, a pet which he can command at his will. Harleen Quinzel, psychologist, is so far gone that she has become Harley Quinn, slave to Joker in the misguided belief she can save him. There is no saving Joker. Joker is a psychopath. As originally conceived, Harley Quinn is a visual representation of a battered woman in a highly abusive relationship. The Joker tortures Harley because he can and because he wants to. Please watch Batman the Animated Series to understand who Harleen Quinzel is and where Harley Quinn comes from. Other rumors have pointed toward a story which centers around DC's Birds of Prey. Judging from reports, WB and Margot Robbie are leaning toward the latter. Hopefully, the Birds of Prey will win out. In Star Trek news, it is my sad duty to inform fans, Star Trek Discovery has been pushed back to May 2017. Yes, you heard that right. According to CBS, the new premiere date is driven by the belief of the creative team. This gives the show the appropriate time for a delivery of the highest quality, premium edition of the first new Star Trek TV series in over a decade. Following its May 2017 premiere on the CBS television network, all episodes of Star Trek Discovery will be available in the U.S. exclusively on CBS All Access. Continuing the worldwide appeal of the franchise, each episode of the series will be available globally within 24 hours of its U.S. premiere, presented on Netflix in 188 countries and through Bell Media platforms in Canada. And finally, the best news I could have ever hoped for, we're getting an Indiana Jones animated movie at the end of the month. It's a fan film, but it's a hell of a fan film. Way back when Lucasfilm commissioned artist Patrick Schoenmaker to create a print of a cartoon-looking Indiana Jones as part of the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull marketing push. While the film was terrible and one we shall not name, the resulting print is absolutely fabulous, and lucky for us, Patrick Schoenmaker couldn't get the idea of an animated Indy out of his head. Lucasfilm wanted nothing to do with the idea, but Patrick went forward and created a not-for-profit short animated indie fan film. Its release date is 29 September. I say again, we are getting an Indiana Jones fan film. That squeeing you hear is totally me losing my ever-loving animation student mind. And that's it for this week's Quick Flicks. I'm Denise, and I'll see you next time on the Weekly Podioplex.
Thank you, Denise. With that, we come to the end of this week's edition of the Weekly Podioplex. If you want to discuss anything you heard on this week's edition, please take a moment to get in touch. You can surf on over to the brand new homepage at chronicrift.com and leave an audio message right there on the website using your microphone. Or you can write to weeklypodioplex@gmail.com. Of course, you can still tweet us on Twitter. The Chronic Rift is chronic_rift. The Weekly Podioplex is Weekly Podioplex. Denise is Riley James Keith. And I am Womprat99, like the creature Luke would bullseye in his T-16 in Beggar's Canyon. You can give the Chronic Rift a thumbs up on Stitcher Radio, leave us a 5-star review on iTunes, and you can find the Weekly Podioplex and the Chronic Rift on Facebook and Google+. Take a moment, stop on by and see to the shows the Chronic Rift Network has to offer. The main show is offered weekly with the Rift regulars, and you can listen live on Saturday mornings at 7 a.m. or download the episode later in the feed. We also have Cyborgs, a Bionic podcast, the Batcave podcast, the OSI Files podcast, the G2V podcast, Generations Geek, Presenting the Transcription Feature, the Dan and Travis Show, the Sci-Fi Diner podcast, and so much more. We have 2 new shows. The first is the Guardian of Forever podcast, where Chrissy Myers and John Drew talk about Star Trek, the original series. And we have the Hornet Sting podcast, which covers the Green Hornet, the sister show to Batman 66. Check us out and find the culture in pop culture. If you're interested in more of my adventures, take a quick trip to my blog, Creative Criticality, where I'm watching every episode of Doctor Who for the first time from the very beginning of the franchise and reviewing those tales in the Timestamps Project. Right now, the blog is entering the 14th season with the 4th Doctor. In fact, I'm getting ready to say goodbye to Sarah Jane Smith. And the link to those reviews can be found in the show notes. You can also find Creative Criticality on Facebook. Denise can also be found on the internet at Accessories Not Included, where she talks about her writing, reviews books, and offers her services as a cover designer. Check her out at accessoriesnotincluded.com. If you decide to pick up any of this week's new releases, why not do it through our Amazon store? You get the newest entertainment, Amazon's low prices and high-quality service, and each purchase you make to that store supports the Chronic Rift Network. Your support keeps us on the air, and we appreciate your consideration. Look for the links to our best bets and the network store in our show notes, or click the Amazon box on the website. The Weekly Podioplex is a Lucky Shot production and is produced by John S. Drew. On behalf of Denise and John, this is Michael Faulkner. Thanks for listening. Until next time, there are adventures and drama, comedy and action, worlds to explore in the depths of film. Get some popcorn, find your favorite seat, and I'll see you at the theater.
That's a wrap! That's a wrap!